Have you ever felt that tiny knot of panic mixed with excitement when you realize you have absolutely no idea where you are? That feeling when every street starts to look the same, and your map suddenly seems to be written in a secret code. Well, you're not alone. Welcome to Story-Driven English, the place where we learn English together, not through boring textbooks, but through fun, engaging stories. Stories just like the one we have for you today, about getting completely, hilariously lost in a brand new city. If you love stories and want to improve your English in a relaxed way, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next adventure. Alright, let's dive into our story. It's called The Map, the Pastry, and the Very Confused Tourist. Alex stepped out of the airport and breathed in deeply. The air in Veridia felt different. Warmer, scented with unfamiliar spices and blooming flowers. He grinned, a wide, happy smile. This was it, his first solo trip abroad. He'd saved for months, planned meticulously, and now he was finally here, in the city famous for its winding cobblestone streets, colorful houses, and most importantly for Alex right now, the legendary golden croissant from a tiny bakery called the Whispering Kettle Café. He clutched his backpack straps tightly. Inside, nestled amongst his clothes and travel guide, was a crisp, new paper map. Alex was proud of his map. In an age of smartphones and GPS, he liked the old-fashioned feel of unfolding paper, tracing routes with his finger. It felt more adventurous. "No problem," he muttered to himself confidently. "I've got the map. I've got a plan. Find the hotel, drop the bags, find the croissant, easy." Finding the hotel was, thankfully, quite easy. It was a small, charming place tucked away on a relatively quiet side street. Mrs. Gable, the friendly owner with rosy cheeks and twinkling eyes, welcomed him warmly. "Ah, Veridia, you will love it," she said, handing him his key. "But be careful, the old town streets, they like to play tricks." She chuckled. Alex just smiled politely. Tricks? Not on him. He had his map. After quickly unpacking, Alex unfolded the map on his bed. It spread out like a treasure chart, full of thin blue lines for streets, little squares for buildings, and a big green patch for the Central Park. He located his hotel, marked with a small X by Mrs. Gable. Then he searched for the Whispering Kettle Café. Ah, there it was. Not too far, according to the map. Just a few turns across a little bridge and down a street called Nightingale Lane. Piece of cake, Alex thought, folding the map neatly and tucking it into his back pocket. He grabbed his wallet, his room key, and bounded out the door, whistling a cheerful tune. The sun was shining brightly, glinting off the colorful tiles decorating the buildings. Veridia was even more beautiful up close than in the pictures. People bustled past, chatting in a language Alex didn't understand but found musical. He walked confidently, glancing at street signs, comparing them to his memory of the map. Okay, first left, then straight for 2 blocks. He took the first left onto a narrow street, lined with little shops selling handmade jewelry and bright scarves. He paused to admire a particularly intricate silver necklace, then remembered his mission, the golden croissant. He continued walking, feeling pleased with himself. This exploring thing was easy. He reached the end of the second block. According to his mental map, he should turn right here. He looked at the street sign. Willow Way. That didn't sound familiar. He pulled out the map, unfolding it awkwardly while trying not to bump into passers-by. He squinted at the tiny print. Okay. Maybe it wasn't Willow Way he wanted, but the next right onto Bridge Street. He must have miscounted the blocks. Simple mistake. He folded the map again, slightly less neatly this time, and continued straight. The street started to curve gently. The shops gave way to houses painted in pastel shades, lemon yellow, mint green, powder blue. It was very picturesque. Alex stopped to take a photo, then another. He was so busy admiring the architecture that he didn't notice quite how much the street was curving, or that the next right turn looked suspiciously like another narrow alleyway. Not the Bridge Street he expected, but determined he took the turn. This alley was quiet, almost deserted. High walls rose on either side, blocking out the sun. It smelled faintly of damp stone and dust. This can't be right, Alex thought, a tiny flicker of doubt entering his mind for the first time. He pulled out the map again. This time, unfolding it felt more cumbersome. A slight breeze caught one corner, threatening to rip it. Okay, let's focus, he told himself. He located his Hotel X again. Then he tried to trace his path. First left, straight, then... Where was he? He looked around. No street signs in this alley. He looked back the way he came. It looked exactly the same as the path ahead. He looked at the map again. The thin blue line swam before his eyes. Were these alleys even on the map? He decided the best course of action was to keep going forward. Surely the alley had to end somewhere, right? It probably opened onto a bigger street. He walked on, his footsteps echoing slightly. The alley twisted, turned, and then abruptly ended in a small, forgotten-looking square. In the center was a weathered stone fountain, not working, with a few pigeons pecking around its base. 3 other narrow alleys led off from the square, each looking identical to the one he'd just emerged from. Alex let out a small sigh. Okay, maybe Mrs. Gable was right. Maybe the streets did play tricks. His confidence began to wobble, just a little. He looked at his map. It showed a large square, the Piazza del Sole, near the café. But this little pigeon-filled place definitely wasn't it. He tried to orient the map with the sun, but the high walls made it difficult to tell where the sun actually was. Excuse me, he said to a pigeon. The pigeon ignored him. Right, helpful. He chose one of the alleys at random and started walking again. This one seemed a bit livelier. He could hear faint music up ahead. Hope surged. Maybe this led back to a main road. He walked faster, turning a corner eagerly, and found himself back in the small square with the broken fountain and the pigeons. He'd walked in a circle. Oh, come on, Alex groaned, slumping onto the edge of the fountain. The pigeons scattered. Indignantly, he buried his face in his hands for a moment. His stomach rumbled. The golden croissant felt very, very far away now. His adventurous spirit was rapidly being replaced by a growing sense of being utterly, completely lost, and slightly foolish. He took a deep breath and pulled out the map for the 4th time. It was starting to look a bit crumpled. He spread it carefully on his knees. Okay, deep breaths. Logic. He tried to find any landmark he recognized. A church spire, a particular statue mentioned in his guidebook. Nothing around him matched the map's neat symbols. It was as if he'd stumbled into a part of the city that the mapmaker had forgotten. Just then, an elderly woman with a kind face and arms full of grocery bags shuffled into the square from one of the other alleys. "Hope!" Alex jumped up. "Excuse me. Hello?" he called out, trying his best friendly smile. The woman stopped and looked at him, her head tilted. "English?" Alex asked hopefully. She shook her head, a gentle smile on her face. "No English. Italiano?" Alex's heart sank. He knew maybe 3 words of Italian, learned from pizza menus. Café?" he tried, making a vague stirring motion with his hand. "Whispering Kettle Cafe?" He pointed hopefully at his map, specifically at the spot where the cafe was supposed to be. The woman peered at the map, then looked around the square, then back at Alex. She said something long and musical in Italian, gesturing vaguely down. The alley she had just come from, then pointing in the opposite direction, then shrugging with a sympathetic smile. She patted his arm kindly, said something that sounded like, "Good luck, young man," and shuffled off down the 3rd alley, the one Alex hadn't tried yet. Alex watched her go. "Well," he sighed, "that was unclear. Did she mean the cafe was that way? Or that she was going that way? Or that he should try his luck down that alley?" He decided to follow the direction the old lady had gone. It seemed as good a plan as any. This alley was different again. It was wider, and he could hear the sounds of a busier street nearby. Yes. Progress. He emerged onto a bustling road filled with shops, Vespas zipping past and people hurrying along. He looked left. He looked right. Nothing looked familiar. No sign of Nightingale Lane or anything resembling the area around his hotel. He leaned against a wall, feeling a bit overwhelmed. The sun was higher in the sky now. He must have been wandering for over an hour. His stomach rumbled again, louder this time. Forget the golden croissant. He'd settle for any croissant at this point. Or even just a glass of water. He saw a small shop selling brightly colored ceramics. Maybe they spoke English. He went inside. The shop was cool and quiet after the noise of the street. A man with an impressive mustache looked up from behind the counter. "Hello," Alex said. "Do you speak English?" "Do you speak?" The man beamed. "A little. Welcome. You buy ceramics?" Maybe later," Alex said. "Actually, I'm a bit lost. I'm trying to find this place." He unfolded his map again, pointing to the Whispering Kettle Cafe. The man peered at the map. "Ah, see, the cafe, very famous." He nodded enthusiastically. "Is easy." Alex felt a surge of relief. "Great. How do I get there?" The man launched into a series of directions. "You go out, turn right, walk, 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 big church, Bella, Bella church, you see?" Alex nodded, trying to keep up. "After church, turn left. Small street, very small. Then right. Then, he paused, scratching his head. "Maybe left again? Or straight?" He looked at Alex apologetically. "Is confusing, no?" Alex managed a weak smile. "A little." "Maybe," the man said brightly. "You take taxi?" Alex considered it. But his pride and his dwindling adventurous spirit resisted. "No, no, I want to walk," he insisted. "Thank you." He bought a small, colorful tile as a thank you gesture and left the shop, clutching the tile and his slightly more confusing directions. Right out of the shop, walked towards the big church. Okay. He started walking. He walked and walked and walked. He passed many shops, saw many interesting things, but no big, beautiful church appeared. The street just kept going, eventually turning into a wider, more modern-looking road. This definitely wasn't the quaint old town anymore. Where was the church? Had he missed it? Had he gone the wrong way out of the shop? He stopped at a street corner, feeling defeated. His feet hurt. He was thirsty. He was hungry. And he was thoroughly, undeniably lost. The map felt useless in his hands. He slumped onto a public bench, ignoring the curious glances of people waiting for a bus. He missed his quiet hotel room. He missed Mrs. Gable. He even missed the pigeons in the weird little square. He sat there for a while, just watching the city buzz around him, feeling sorry for himself. Then, he noticed something across the street. Tucked between a fancy shoe store and a modern office building was a tiny, old-fashioned shop front. It had faded green paint and a small, hand-painted sign that read, "Angelo's Maps and Mysteries." Maps. Maybe they could help. It was worth a try. Mustering his remaining energy, Alex crossed the street and pushed open the door. A little bell jingled. Overhead, the shop was dimly lit and smelled of old paper and ink. Maps of all shapes and sizes were stacked everywhere, rolled up in barrels, hanging on the walls, piled high on tables. Behind a large wooden counter sat a very old man with wispy white hair and spectacles perched on the end of his nose. He looked up slowly as Alex entered. "Good afternoon," the old man said, his voice surprisingly clear. "Lost, are we?" Alex blinked. "Is it that obvious?" The old man chuckled, a dry, rustling sound. "Most people who come in here are looking for something they can't find. Sometimes it's a place. Sometimes it's something else." He peered at Alex over his glasses. "What place have you misplaced today, young man?" Alex explained his quest for the Whispering Kettle Café, his reliance on his paper map, and his increasingly desperate wanderings through the city's confusing streets. He even showed the old man his crumpled map. Mr. Angelo took the map and spread it out carefully on the counter. He studied it for a long moment, occasionally humming softly to himself. "Ah, yes," he said finally. "This is a tourist map. Very pretty, not always accurate, especially in the old quarter. Streets there, they like to rearrange themselves when you're not looking." He winked. "So, the map is wrong?" Alex asked, feeling a mix of frustration and validation. "Not wrong, precisely," Mr. Angelo mused. "Just, optimistic. It shows the main ways, the easy ways. It doesn't show the little secrets, the shortcuts, the places that hide." He tapped the map near where the cafe was marked. "The Whispering Kettle. Ah, yes, it hides very well." He then took out a much larger, older-looking map from under the counter. It was hand-drawn with intricate details and notes scribbled in the margins. "This," he said proudly, "is a map that knows the city." He traced a route with a long, bony finger, completely different from the one Alex had been trying to follow. You went left, yes? Towards Willow Way. Alex nodded. Big mistake. That way leads to the Labyrinth District. We call it that for a reason. Easy to get in, very hard to get out. Alex stared at the old map. It looked incredibly complicated. So, how do I get to the cafe from here? Mr. Angelo smiled. From here? Oh, that's quite simple now. You are actually not too far. But forget your map for a moment. He leaned forward conspiratorially. Go out of my shop, turn left. Walk to the big fountain with the statue of the mermaid. You can't miss it. At the fountain, don't follow the main road. Look for the narrowest alleyway heading uphill. It looks like nothing, just a crack between buildings. Take it, it will twist, but keep going up. When you smell baking bread and sweet almonds, you are close. The cafe door is blue. Small, round, blue door. Knock 3 times. It sounded like instructions from a fairy tale. The narrowest alley? A blue door? Knock 3 times? Alex repeated, bewildered. Precisely, Mr. Angelo confirmed, his eyes twinkling. Trust the city, young man, and trust your nose. Alex didn't know what else to do. He thanked Mr. Angelo profusely. The old man just waved a hand dismissively. Go, find your pastry, and perhaps next time buy a better map. He chuckled again, feeling a renewed, albeit slightly strange sense of hope. Alex left the map shop. He turned left, as instructed. He walked, and soon, just as Mr. Angelo had said, he saw it. A large, ornate fountain with a gleaming statue of a mermaid holding a seashell. It was beautiful. He paused for a moment, admiring it. Then he scanned the edges of the square surrounding the fountain. There were several streets leading off it. And then he saw it. Tucked between a souvenir shop and a gelateria, there was an incredibly narrow gap, barely wide enough for one person. It looked dark and unconvincing. This had to be it. Taking a deep breath, Alex plunged into the alleyway. It was steep and winding, the cobblestones worn smooth over centuries. It twisted left, then right, climbing steadily uphill. It was quiet here, away from the main bustle. After a minute or two of climbing, a delicious smell reached him. Warm bread, sugar, toasted almonds. It grew stronger as he walked. And then he saw it. Set into the wall, almost hidden, was a small, round, bright blue door. No sign, nothing else, just the door. His heart pounded. Could this really be it? Feeling slightly ridiculous, he raised his hand and knocked 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. For a moment nothing happened. Then he heard the sound of bolts being drawn back, and the little blue door creaked open. A woman with flour dusting her apron and a warm smile peered out. Yes? Hello, Alex stammered. Is this the Whispering Kettle Cafe? The woman's smile widened. It is. You found us. Come in. Come in. Alex stepped inside. The air was warm and thick with the scent of baking. The cafe was tiny, just a few wooden tables, but incredibly cozy. And there, displayed on the counter under a glass dome, were the most beautiful, golden, flaky pastries he had ever seen. The legendary golden croissants. He had made it. After hours of being lost, confused, and frustrated, he had finally found it. And strangely, sitting there in the tiny hidden cafe, munching on the most delicious croissant he had ever tasted, It really was golden, flaky perfection. Alex didn't feel annoyed about getting lost anymore. He thought about the colorful streets he'd seen, the quiet little square with the pigeons, the kind old lady, the mustached shopkeeper, the mysterious map seller. He wouldn't have experienced any of that if he hadn't gotten lost. He wouldn't have discovered the hidden alley or the secret blue door. Getting lost hadn't been a failure. It had been an adventure, a confusing, tiring, but ultimately wonderful adventure. He pulled out the small ceramic tile he'd bought. It was a picture of a winding street. He smiled. It was the perfect souvenir. As he finished his second croissant, he couldn't resist. Alex made a decision. Tomorrow, he would leave the paper map at the hotel. He would just wander. Maybe he'd get lost again. And maybe, just maybe, that would be the best way to truly discover the secrets of Veridia. Sometimes, the best destinations are the ones you find when you're not quite sure where you're going. And that's the story of Alex and his confusing, croissant-fueled adventure in Veridia. It just goes to show sometimes getting a little lost can lead you to exactly where you need to be, or at least to a really great pastry. Let's quickly look at some useful words from our story that you heard repeated. Practicing these will really help your English. Key vocabulary, repeated throughout. Lost. Not knowing where you are. E.g., Alex realized he was completely lost. Map. A drawing of an area showing streets, rivers, etc. E.g., he unfolded his paper map. Directions. Instructions on how to get somewhere. E.g., he asked the shopkeeper for directions. Street, a public road in a city or town. E.g., the street was lined with colorful houses. Corner, the place where two streets meet. E.g., he stopped at the street corner feeling defeated. Confusing, difficult to understand. E.g., the directions were very confusing. Landmark, an object or feature of a place that is easily seen and recognized. E.g., he tried to find a landmark he recognized. Explore, to travel around a place to learn about it. E.g., he was excited to explore the city. Excited, feeling very happy and enthusiastic. E.g., Alex was excited about his trip. Worried, feeling anxious or troubled about actual or potential problems. E.g., he started to feel worried when he couldn't find the street. Finally, after a long time, typically involving difficulty or delay. E.g., he finally found the hidden café. Café, a small restaurant selling light meals and drinks. E.g., he was searching for the Whispering Kettle Café. Delicious, having a very pleasant taste or smell. E.g., the croissant was absolutely delicious. Strange, unusual or surprising, difficult to understand or explain. E.g., the instructions from the map seller seemed strange. Beautiful, pleasing the senses or mind aesthetically. E.g., Veridia was even more beautiful up close. Wander, to walk or move in a leisurely, casual, or aimless way. E.g., he decided to just wander the next day. Alley, alleyway, a narrow passageway between or behind buildings. E.g., he took the narrowest alleyway heading uphill. Square, an open, typically four-sided area surrounded by buildings in a town or city. E.g., the alley ended in a small, forgotten-looking square. Try using some of these words this week. Maybe even write a short sentence in the comments below using one of them. I'd love to see it. Did you enjoy Alex's accidental adventure? Did it remind you of a time you got lost? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one.